Okay, let's look at the next question. Gross domestic product measures the value of all final goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country, irrespective of whether produced by residents or non-residents. So if you study the concept of GDP, this is basically the definition of GDP, right? This is actually the definition of GDP. Okay, so GDP is something that actually measures everything which is included in the territory, right? In the territory. Okay, so what matters for GDP measurement is actually territory, right? And there is the concept of gross national product. Right. Okay, gross national product, the main criteria or the main focus is on residents of that country. Right. Residents of that country. Right. So here GDP focus on the territory. Whatever happens, whatever expenditure happens, whatever the output that is produced, whatever is being earned, if that happens within the physical territory of India, will constitute India's GDP. But gross national product, it only takes care of, it only includes the value of whatever is being produced by Indian residents, right? Indian residents. Here residents is important. Okay. And the focus, it's not actually citizenship, the concept is different. Here they just need to be resident in the country. Okay, it's actually ordinary resident concepts are there, but don't go into those things. GNP, just remember that whoever resides in that country, okay, whoever is a resident of that country, those people will contribute to the value of GNP. So please keep that in mind. Okay, so this statement is actually correct. Okay, domestic territory. Okay, gross national product is obtained by adding net factor income from abroad to GDP. Okay, so say you have calculated A, B. Okay, so there is, imagine an economic is there. You have A and B, right? A and B, right? A and B is there in an economy, and there is another person C. Okay, there is another person C. Okay, okay, there is another person here D. Okay, A, B and D is also here. C is another person. So okay, so A and B are actually residents of that particular economy. Okay, say particularly India. So A and B are actually residents of India. That means they are actually living there. Their business is established there. The headquarters is there. Okay, everything is there. D, actually the headquarters of D is actually in say US. Okay, D is not a resident of actually India. Okay, and C, say C is actually a person in Dubai or somewhere, but his home and everything, his primary residence is actually, he's actually an Indian resident, but he's working abroad. Okay, he's working abroad. Okay, so gross GDP would be, okay, GDP would be the contribution by A, contribution by B, as well as the contribution by D. Here C will be excluded because C is actually generating whatever he is generating outside the territory, right? So A, B and D will be included in GDP. But what for GNP? Okay, so if you look at GNP, what will be there? A will be there, B will be there and C will be there. Okay, C will be there. Okay, D is not there. And how did we reach from here to here? We actually subtracted the value contributed by a non-resident and we added the value contributed by a resident. Okay, so that is what is known as the net factor income from abroad, right? Net factor income from abroad. So we actually subtracted the value of a resident, but he is not actually the resident of that particular economy, right? But the C is actually a resident, right? So please understand the concept. Okay, so I'll just explain that. So if you look at here, GNP measures the value of all final goods produced by the residents of a country. Okay, residents of a country, regardless of whether the production takes place inside or outside the domestic territory. So that value, that is, you are actually subtracting the value of all the non-residents, right? You are subtracting the factor income earned by non-residents. Okay, you are subtracting the value of non-resident. Right. So here we subtracted D, the value of D, because D is a non-resident. D's home is actually in US, right? So D is not a resident. Whatever the value he contributed will not be there in GNP, right? So we subtracted the value of non-resident and we added the value of all the residents from abroad. Okay. So all the abroad people, if their residence is actually in India, they will be included. I hope this concept is clear. So that makes this statement is also correct, right? I hope this is clear. Okay. But if you look at that options again, UPSC will ask whether one statement will explain the other. Here these two statements are standalone statements, right? They are not actually, there's no any causal link between them, right? So please read the options as well. Here they both are correct, but they do not explain each other. Okay, so please understand that these two are standalone statements. Okay, so that is why you can actually you can say that answer is B, right? Answer is B. Okay, so please understand the concept GDP, GNP. Please understand the options as well. So you might have solved these two things, but you might have not focused too much on the options, and you might have marked option A. Okay, so please don't do that mistake. Read the options carefully. These both statements were standalone statements. Okay, they were both talking about separate concepts. They are related, but the statements are not related to each other.